Welcome to Wake the Bear Radio with your host, Brandon Johnson, Chris Hurst, and Ron Powers.
Okay, wow. Come on, gotta love that roar.
Yes, absolutely.
California
is waking up.
Yes, the bear is California, and it is waking
All
up.
right, I've got to tell you, I triggered today on the drive down here.
Did you?
Oh. I went by the Shell station, and it was $6.39. Yesterday, it was $5.49.
Oh, my gosh.
In one day.
Well, you know, it's because of Putin.
Oh, that's right.
It has to be Putin's fault.
Oh, yes.
Couldn't have anything to do with our government and the mismanagement of California and the states.
Oh, my
I'm surprised
goodness.
it's not Trump's fault.
Well, I'm sorry. Did I say Putin? I meant Trump.
Yeah.
Trump. No, just joking.
We call that Trump derangement syndrome. Everything is his fault.
Yes. It's just by default.
Yeah, now this is a great time to give an action step, and I think we all should be writing our congressmen and our senators and saying, open the Keystone Pipeline, for heaven's sakes. Let's get those contracts back on board, and it is time to get that pipeline going, get some people employed in our country, and get our price at the pump down again.
Let's drill, baby.
Yep.
Drill.
Fracking is your friend.
Yeah, come on. Let's not be, it's okay if the other countries do it that aren't controlled by the environmentalists, but it's not, it's okay if they do it, but we can't do it because of nonsense is why.
It's crazy.
Because of BlackRock, because of Vanguard.
This week, and actually the name of this week's theme would be Wag the Dog 2.0.
Wag the
dog. And
I
feel like it is literally Wag the Dog with this thing happening over in Ukraine.
You are watching a movie, and if you think you're not, you have not been paying attention.
Did you ever see that movie?
Wag the Dog?
The Dog, yeah, Robert De Niro.
It was brilliant. And it was funny. It was very funny.
Definitely.
I only saw the clips because it was like in 1997. Didn't it come out in 97?
Yeah, 97. Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro.
You would have been a wee lad then.
Wee
lad. It was a good movie. It was really interesting because I'm just looking at the Wikipedia on it, and it's it says it was 1 month before the outbreak of the Clinton Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Wow.
And so it came out, and it was about they were bombing at that time, right
close to
before.
home.
And it was hitting, yeah. And so people started seeing this parallels, like, why are you bombing? Why are you bombing right before this scandal? And then a little bit later, when actually the impeachment happened, they started bombing again. And it was another bombing campaign that happened. So it was Albania. So it's kind of in that area a little bit,
It's weird.
Very weird.
You know what? I probably didn't watch it because it probably would have given me too much cognitive dissonance. Because like back then, I used to believe the media. So like to have this movie show you that the media has been lying to you and is making up movies. Oh yeah, that's just a nice fanciful movie, Hollywood. I'm like, dude, we're watching movies every day of stuff that's just made up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the theme of the movie was that they had this sexual scandal with the president, and the president said, hey, I need damage control or someone working for him.
Right.
And so they hire a Hollywood producer, and they say, hey, you got to spin some sort of narrative to get everybody's eyes off of my scandal.
They create a pageant, right, in Albania, right?
And so they created this war, and they if I remember right, they had this, like, little girl, and it's, like, the shelling in the background.
It was the beginning of crisis acting.
Yes, exactly.
Can I put this on my resume? No, because they'll kill you if you put it on your resume. I remember that scene. It was pretty good.
It was good. But that's what I think we're seeing now. We had this big COVID, and now when you're on the losing side of COVID, people are realizing, hey, your lockdowns, you're militant on us, you're ruining our lives, we don't like you anymore. And it's like we got to get rid of COVID somehow. And so now the shift has been like Ukraine.
Squirrel! Over here! Squirrel! Yeah. Look over here. Don't look over there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, what we're not saying is that there aren't some innocent civilians that are in trouble over there, that are in distress, and our hearts are very compassionate towards them, that they are, there are people that are under attack. There is shelling going on.
Right.
There is a lack of supplies. There are people that are injured. So we're not saying that that is not true. And our hearts and our prayers are for the innocent ones. And it's, I mean, that's what war does. It's always the innocent ones. The nations are raging with one another, and they're trying to justify their killing machine. And meanwhile, the innocent ones are the ones that get hurt.
Yeah, it's the war industrial complex, basically.
That's
and the people who are the weakest, the smallest, the people that are the poorest, the people that are the most disenfranchised are the ones that get the most hurt.
Yep, every time, even on both sides.
Both sides.
You know, and
Yeah,
so,
we actually had a show on Ukraine and Russia last week that was not aired here at KSCO. We were. It is on our website, though.
Yeah, we were bumped for the fake. I mean, for the state of disunion. State of union. I mean,
Disunion. Yes,
right.
the state of disunion.
State of disunion.
But you can see that we had an amazing guest last week.
That was really good. We, in fact, we went really long with that one since we didn't have the time crunch of fitting within the hour.
And how can people hear that?
John Mark Dugan.
Yep. If you go to www.wakethebearradio.com, you'll find it under last week's show notes right on the front page, and it's about Ukraine. This guy, let's just do a recap real quick. Real quick on it. But I mean, so we got in touch with this guy because we saw a podcast from Red Pill 78 News, and it was amazing. So this is a guy that was a U.S. Marine, then he became a sheriff. And he was in, I forget what county in Florida. And he had seen some real corruption. Police were beating up a bunch of minorities, and they were bragging about it, posting pictures on Facebook. And so he blew the whistle, and then he created an anonymous website where you could turn in your fellow worker that is doing this sort of stuff. And I guess it went viral, and people were getting turned in. And so he started recording. And next thing you know, he turns it into the FBI saying, you need to investigate. I got all these recordings. I got the goods. And instead of them saying, great job, they said, you did recordings? That's a felony.
And they showed up at his house as 54 agents. And then he found out later that there was a plot to kill him by the people he exposed.
Yeah.
And he had to flee the nation. So now he's an expatriate living in Moscow.
Yep.
And he gave us some straight up stuff about what's going on over there and what the people think about Putin, what the people think about Ukraine, and so it was really good. If you want to hear the show, you got to go back to the last. It was it was a difficult connection because the phone it was like 7 a.m. for him. He was tired, but he shared some really good content. So
yeah, it was good.
And he has seen, we talk about the Azov regiment.
The Nazis.
The Nazi regiments from Ukraine that have been there for years, but they're working as part of the Ukrainian mafia and the leadership that's that's there now, and they are part of what he saw. He went and saw what they were doing in Ukraine, so he gave some firsthand information about the Azovs and what their
He was talking about that, and he was like, had friends that he knows that like, my next door neighbor's a Nazi. I went into his office, he had all this Nazi paraphernalia everywhere, and he was like talking about this, like they're all over the place over there, and it's not a fake news media information. This is true. There's a bunch of neo-Nazis over there, and it's being exposed. There's even was a movie, right? We were talking about Ukraine on Fire that Oliver Stone directed a documentary, interviewed Putin and Zelensky, like in 2013 or 14.
About that, it was great.
And they're talking just openly about all this stuff, and now the media is trying to slam it down and say, no, that's all fake news. I mean, I had a guy in my Bible study this morning. He's like, dude, you got to watch out for a lot of fake news out there. A lot of people are, Russia's posting stuff, deceptive photographs and stuff, saying things are happening to hide what they're really doing over there. And I'm like, dude, do you think it's only Russia doing that? Like, are you serious? Like, you've been watching the media with me for the past 2.5 years, and you still think that the official narrative is real? Like, are you kidding me? And I go, like Suzanne, the Art of War says, all war is deception. I mean, and this is a guy I used to play football with in high school. So it makes me think back about when I used to play football in high school, and we would we would run the triple option, right? Well, back in the day, triple option was a threat that nobody could beat because it was a fake dive, a fake run, and a fake pitch, all at like 1, 2, 3, and defenses could not defend against it because it was all deception. Like where the ball was, you never knew where the ball was at any given moment. Well, that's exactly what's going on right now. Is that both sides? I'm not here to like toot Putin's horn. The guy's he's got an ex-KGB agent. He's bad. Like, but if you think he's the only bad player going on, it's all Putin. You are not paying attention to what's really happening.
So how are we going to figure out what's going on? And what are your theories?
Wow, that's a deep one. I think one of the things to do is to try to figure out what is disinformation and what is not. And I think everybody wants to do that. But one of the things is just using logic. So if we look at our own media, let's just take a look at them first. Okay, were they wrong about Russia with Donald Trump?
Yep.
Apparently, with the Mueller investigation, which was, $30 million, some crazy amount they spent, zero evidence. So for what, 24/7 for
news media just pumped
6 months or a year, whatever it was, they were just pumping it into our head.
News cycle.
Oh yeah, Adam Schiff. I've got red hot evidence.
Perfect. Undeniable. Okay, where is it, Adam?
Where is it?
Crickets. There's nothing.
So you have that one. You have mostly peaceful protests.
Mostly peaceful as things are burning in the background.
Yep, people are getting killed. Things are being burned. So I just feel like there was an agenda there.
Well, did you see the video? Or there was a bunch of memes that were going out. They were showing, they're like, this is happening in Ukraine. Oh, just joking. This was what was happening in America during the mostly peaceful protests.
Exactly. I saw that one.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And it's so true. And so I think you have a really good reason to question what the mainstream media is saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and back in the day when I was asleep, when Wag the Dog was made and I wasn't paying attention, I thought we should invade Iraq, just like most of America did, because they told us there was weapons of mass destruction. The same media. And they showed us the video and the little clips they had of it and the little graphic. And Powell sat there and said, it's absolutely there. And we go in and guess what? Still no weapons of mass destruction. And CNN had embedded journalists, trust CNN, the most trusted news network. And, I trusted them and they lied their off. Okay.
Yeah.
And now you believe them? You believe them about reporting about war in a way that's honest?
Yeah.
Not after the past 2.5 years of all of the censorship, of all other second opinions about ivermectin and all these other things. There is something going on. And this, I think the number one word that Christians need to have right now, the number one thing we need, is the ability to discern. Discernment. And then discernment is the spiritual ability that God gives some people to be able to tell what sources things are coming from. Is it from God? Is it from Satan? Is it from some other source? Is it from our flesh? Like, is that what's leading this whole thing? And I want people out there to be really careful not to just jump on the war bandwagon. Like, war is horrible. Like, and where this could go is really bad. So don't just jump on that we got to start a war. Because and it may make you feel good to say that, but I'm looking at all these banners that are on all of the internet. Everywhere I go, there's Ukraine, stand with Ukraine. Like, of course, stand with Ukraine. Of course. It's like,
but
Black Lives Matter. Yeah. Of course they all matter. Who said they didn't?
Right.
Right?
That's
war is
right.
bad.
And the problem is, when you talk about Ukraine, it's kind of like stand with America. There's parts of America I don't want to stand with, like the current administration. And there's probably, in Ukraine, it would be the same type of deal. The people, we always want to stand for the people. But where the current administration is in Ukraine, it's difficult to know whether that person is a black hat or a white hat. What we do know is that there's been ethnic purging on the eastern border of Ukraine for at least 7 or 8 years. There's been active bombing, and tens of thousands of Ukrainians of Russian descent have died. That there has been an ongoing purging there. So when we want to get our information, we try to find the facts. Like you said, Ron, I think one of the things we could look at is the energy company Burisma. It's very interesting who might be on the board there and whose interests are we actually protecting.
That is very interesting. I find it interesting that it was Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, Mitt Romney, and Joe Biden. They all have kids on these high level, way overpaid, and they're not qualified positions of the energy companies in Ukraine.
Energy.
And they all voted to impeach President Trump. And they all did not want President Trump talking to anybody in the Ukraine. They did not want him talking to anybody in Russia. Why? Why was it so bad that the president of the United States would pick up the phone and talk to somebody in Ukraine? That he would pick up the phone and talk to Russia and say, "Hey, let's be friends. Let's work our differences out." Why then Trump showed his true colors when he actually went to North Korea and met with Kim Jong-un, when everybody painted him as this evil person? He's like, he's a person. Let's go talk to him. Yeah, he might be evil, but let's go talk to him. Let's work this out and negotiate instead of war.
Yeah, that's what leaders do.
That's what leaders do.
They're statesmen, and they know how to negotiate.
The only thing that the last conversation that Putin had that we know of, that Putin had with the current resident in the White House was, can you give me the assurance that you won't build NATO in Ukraine? And he said, no, I can't. And he said, okay. And that was like a week or two before the bombing started.
Yeah.
So.
And is it that unreasonable to say, hey, I don't want to have nukes pointing at my country? And that's what Putin, I'm not trying to defend him, but
no.
Wouldn't you do the same exact thing?
I wouldn't want nukes in the border of Mexico and Canada pointed at us.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think the biolabs are a legitimate reason, too. There's been, of course, the biolabs in Ukraine, they were bleached right off of the website of the U.S. Embassy website. And these biolabs that are funded jointly and operated by the DOD, our Department of Defense. And the documents included the construction and financing and the permits and basically the type of reason they were there. And they were just scrubbed. They were completely scrubbed off of the internet. So the transparency just makes you wonder.
Yeah, I mean, there was an estimate there was up to 14 of them. There was 11 of them. Red Pill 78 with John Mark Dugan talked about, there was ones that are, in the basements of...
of a veterinarian.
Clinic, and there was all kinds of heinous stuff they're doing with different genetic and bioweapon research down there. And if you think it's uncalled for and it's just in a movie, it's all made up, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, as of just, I think, yesterday or today, the U.S. was denying that there were any biolabs there, weapons labs, right? And then it was, what's her name? Victoria Nuland. And she came out and said, I fear that Russia has gotten a hold of some of the biolabs that were in Ukraine. So she just admitted that there were biolabs.
There's no biolabs. Oh, but they just got a hold of them. That doesn't fit.
And now we're really concerned because maybe they'll do something nefarious to us. Well, if you're concerned that those labs have something nefarious or something that's really bad, then that's saying that those labs are really bad. And it's a lot like Wuhan.
And all 11 of them violate the Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
Which we are all signed on to officially.
Yeah, so there's a lot of strategic, from what I'm getting from alternative news, RT News was one of them I was watching, where they were showing that actually the very first support packages were coming from Russia, food and clothing and things like that for the Ukrainian people. They had 100 tons that they were shipping. And so that was in Mariupol. And so, that... You don't get that from here. And that's one of the reasons why RT News had gotten taken off in the West. They said, hey, we don't want you reporting that sort of stuff. So there's so much, so much to decipher.
And the thing is that it's not funny, but I chuckle because it's so programmed. They started this a while back. I mean, okay, go back. Okay, everybody said, oh, remember this whole thing that the Clintons and the Obamas had with a 16-year plan that would ultimately end us in a war with Russia?
Yeah.
And it was published in 2007 or something like that. And people got a hold of some inside information. And everybody, oh, no, that's not. What are they doing right now? They're trying to get us into a conflict with Russia, which is suicide. I mean, are you kidding me? The second most powerful nuclear country in the world you want to start a war with?
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
And they don't even want to do it directly. So the U.S. just offered to Poland. They said, hey, why don't you go in and do airstrikes and we'll buy and supply your jets. If you do your jets, we'll reimburse you for those jets. And so go in and do those strikes. And so Poland's like, well, we'll offer the jets, but we're not flying in. You fly them in yourself.
Yeah,
Kind of
suicide
backfired on them.
mission.
It reminds me of the scripture that says, walk circumspect with your eyes open, pay attention, because the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So therefore, we need to be aware of the evil day we live in and to pay attention. Scripture says it over and over again. Pay attention to the evil day you live in. Don't just believe everything. Test the spirits. See if they're from God, because Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. So you get to be having these messages coming through on the internet, on Facebook, you think are good, and don't believe the things we're saying. Like, go test them. Go use your brain. Don't let the people who think Americans are stupid be right. Go use your brain and go look and test stuff. And some people are saying, listen, I'm tired. After 2 years of COVID, my brain hurts. I can't look at any more videos and try to figure out what's going on. Sorry, that's the price you pay for freedom in this country. You have to do it. We have to fight for freedom or we lose it. And it, like Reagan said, it does not pass on in the bloodstream. You're one generation away from losing freedom.
So what do you think, we know that the Ukraine conflict is to look here, don't look there. What is the don't look there that's going on in America right now that all eyes have been shifted off of what's going on in Washington?
Well, some of them are these bills right here. And this isn't even Washington. This is just the bear. This is California. There are like 13 bills to force vaccination all the children in California. And they're working on these legislative bills right now as we speak, and they're planning on requiring that law enforcement officials enforce public health orders. Public health orders, so that's whoever Newell is put in, the police have to enforce her order, okay, would require all employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19 in order to work in California. Okay, so what's the don't look here? But so goes California, so goes the nation, and often so goes the world. So we're here to fight for California. These bills are an abomination, man.
And they're in the process.
Yeah, California legislation 2020 SB 871 requires all children be vaccinated for COVID-19 and for all public and private schools and daycares. SB 2539 will require proof of vaccination status in order to enter public-private businesses. Like, they're like, don't look here. Look over at Ukraine now, because those truckers are like, miles and miles long. The trucker convoys, miles and miles long. Well, don't look at the trucker convoy. Let's now look over at Ukraine. And right now they're taking away your rights while you're not paying attention.
Yeah, that's it, and it's so strange because in Florida this week, the Florida Surgeon General said that they are breaking with the recommendations of the CDC and that they are recommending against any COVID vaccines for healthy children, and especially for the 5 to 12-year-olds. And they are they've said both the masks and the lockdown as a state. It's a pronouncement that the lockdowns and the masks are an unnecessary health risk for young people. And they know that the risk of myocarditis is there for the vaccinations, and they think it's unethical. They actually used in the Florida legislation, it's unethical to mandate vaccines for children. And yet, that's this week in Florida. And then we have, it seems like the polar opposite here in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I just want people to know that you're listening to KSCO 1080, and our phone number, we'll be taking calls in about 5 minutes at 831-479-1080. That's 831-479-1080.
Yeah, we'd love you to call in. We'd love you to share stuff that you found out, share stuff that you've learned, share stuff that you're paying attention. If you don't agree with us, come tell us. Hey, I don't agree with you. I think this is going on. Okay. This is the thing. We live in America. We put all the stuff on the table, and the truth will rise. We don't censor anybody like they've been doing on Facebook and Google and YouTube and everywhere. We let Joe Rogan tell us what he thinks or what he is asking professionals about, and let them share what they think instead of censoring them, because this is America. We let the truth rise to the top.
That's right. Amen. Hey, speaking of truth and some of the big tech things that you just mentioned, this is a prime example of how to control people. Since Russia is outside of what the big tech wants, it's like Apple Pay, Google Pay, bank cards. They all have shut down, and they're saying, you're not going to work over there in Russia. So now they're forcing people. So if you are on a digitized money system and not cash, you're hosed, right? I mean, you can't get your money out. You can't do so. You see how the dangers of going to a cashless society is.
Totally.
And I'm not. Yeah. So anyway, that's just a real example that people need to see.
There's a war against cash going on, and it's to
Creates
push us
power.
to the new world order. And anybody who tries to tell you differently, you're not paying attention. There's a new world order that's being pushed for, and it's on our money. It's on the back of it. Novus Ordo Seclorum. There's people fighting for America to be the beast system, and there's people here who love the Lord and are fighting for truth and righteousness. So that's the hard part, I think, is like you've got like black ops like CIA and people that are involved, and they really do believe they're doing right. They really do believe that they're fighting for America's interests and democracy throughout the world, and they're willing to do horrible things for it because they really believe in America. But the problem is that the end does not justify the means. You can't do wicked stuff to try to bring freedom to people. You have to be able to do it in the open, not in the secrecy that JFK talked about. The secret societies are an abomination to this nation.
Yeah, I used to be on that boat. I used to say, hey, you know what? If it's a good group like us, we're the good guys.
We're the
Everyone
good
else is
guys,
that if we overthrow a regime,
come on.
whatever it takes. And I used to be in full support of that. Now I'm starting to see that what I thought was right in throwing over these regimes may not have been right at all. It was because a lot of those other regimes were not on the monetary system.
Central
banks. And so if you're outside of the central bank, you're going to have problems.
Every
Iraq,
country.
Iran, what was it, Gaddafi?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a list of them. And now Putin is not in that, and I believe he just went to gold. That's at least what I read.
There's an article, 3 days ago, said Putin moved to gold. And I just listened to another guy who had one of the most read articles on hedge
funds.
Hedge funds. He was talking about. It's a name of a publication, Hedge something. It's a major publication on finances.
It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes. So I was listening to him yesterday, and he said this is the stupidest thing we could do. Russia has already been preparing for this. They've been trading their money. They went from 85% of their transactions in SWIFT to 45% before this war started because they knew that this is what America would do. And so then they're making agreements with China, right?
Yeah.
And then there's going to be if this doesn't stop, there will be a devaluation of the dollar, an attack on the dollar. And I'm not trying to be like, scaring people, but to harden them against us and to not let us trade with them anymore forces them to survive on a system opposite of our system, which now those are two systems are going to be in competition.
Yeah.
And the country that owns the most money in debt, us.
We're number one.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that debt system, the Rothschilds, that's no name that's not familiar. I mean, it's familiar with everybody.
Yeah.
Even Nathan Rothschild came out and said he's claiming that Putin is the most dangerous man on the face of the planet since Adolf Hitler.
Wow.
And he says we need to bring Russia to its knees to warn China and to protect our system of norms and liberal values. Very interesting.
Yeah.
He's panicking.
It's interesting. Juan O'Savin said that Putin is not a white hat. He is a nationalist, and he's a pragmatist, and he's doing what's best for his country. And we should be doing what's best for our country, and China does what's best for its country, but we all do what's best for our countries, not what's best for the global controlled market, this novo ordo seclorum, right? So I think that, we need to resist Putin. We need to resist Russia, but we don't. But the problem is that we have people in our government that have been bought out by China. They've been bought out by millions of dollars and paid out to our own people. And China has representatives on business in almost every one of our major businesses. So they have sway and control in all of our businesses. And so there's some manipulation. And you don't get to be involved in business in China and not be an asset of the government. Every person that says they're coming over here and they're all friendly and we're in a business deal with you, you are in business with the CCP, not just the person, because they are an asset of the CCP. They have to, everything that they do has to be reported to the CCP, which, by the way, is what our country's trying to do here in America, is make us have to report every $600 that you spend.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, are you kidding me? Is this China?
Moving that way.
Yeah.
It's moving towards that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see a double standard where you have China go after Taiwan, Will we see the same reaction, side with Taiwan, or are they going to be silent? I mean, that's a prediction I have.
Yeah.
That I think we'll see a double
me.
standard. It's like
scares me.
Putin bad, Xi Jinping good, Ping is good, and so we will see what happens with that. But, it's not all bad news. I mean,
No.
I think things are lining up. I think a lot of this, the white hats, as we call them, have things planned. And I think this is all a perfect storm that is coming. I look at just a list I kind of wrote down recently, just things that are lining up. The Green New Deal, that is failing miserably. They're starting to play clips of Trump when he was talking to NATO, saying, he was talking to Germany, saying, don't do all the alternative power. He says, don't be dependent on Russian oil. That's what he said. And he said, do not be. And what happened? It got shut off, and now they're all like scrambling. So he was saying that you need to diversify. But the Green New Deal as well, what we're seeing here is, as we don't have gas or oil available, everything's skyrocketing. So we're not getting saved from all this alternative.
Right. And what did Elon Musk say yesterday?
Yeah.
The American needs to start going after oil. This is the guy that produces the most expensive, most classy electric vehicles, is saying you need to produce some oil.
He's probably benefiting more from the Green New Deal than anybody else, and he is saying drill more oil and gas. But it's amazing to me. Biden said that it really doesn't matter how high the prices go. He said yesterday, he said that he was going to continue to ban the oil leases, the new drilling and the fracking, and that he didn't care. He said he didn't care how high the gas prices would soar, that he was determined to destroy the domestic energy industry. And he actually used those terms so that we would be less dependent and our carbon footprint would be less large. And I mean, that is quite, he's willing to go to communist countries like Venezuela, and he's willing to go to Iran to get oil, but he's not willing to open up the Keystone Pipeline.
Yes, this is crazy.
So I have a question for you two. What is the white hat move going on that you believe is, like, where's the hope? Because I see there's some hope here.
Oh, never interfere with an enemy who is destroying themselves. And that's exactly what's happening. So you see this thing with Ukraine. You see the gaffle in Afghanistan, right? And that gives confidence to Putin to move forward. You see what we've done here. We've canceled the Biden administration canceled the Keystone Pipeline, which would have been more than enough that we need.
Right.
And we were getting almost 600,000 barrels from Russia. That would have all been covered by that at a fourth of the cost. Right. Or now maybe a fifth or sixth of the cost. I forgot what day it is this week. So you see that happening. You have the Durham report coming. And it's interesting because Trump just started bringing up Bill Barr again, saying, oh, Bill Barr, he's such a chicken. But you know what he's doing? He is painting the picture that Bill Barr is not a yes man for Trump. And he is showing, hey, Bill Barr is on his own and stuff like that. So when Bill Barr is the one that got John Durham to be special counsel, well, when John Durham lays down the hammer of everything else, I think that's going to be a good separation. I think that is a art of war, sort of thing. You have even Clarence Thomas this week. He's talking about he thinks the court needs to relook at the Section 230, the protecting the big tech, free speech and censoring. And so that's coming. And what's on that? The heels of that? True Social's been slowly coming out. I'm still not on it. I think I'm 400,000 plus still waiting, like everybody else. But, people are coming on. I find it really interesting that @Q popped up. Now Q, there may be a lot of people out in the audience that don't know what Q is or think, there's been about 3,000 slanderous articles about Q. So, if you haven't known, all I can say is it's very interesting that Q would do proofs that, he would text something 1 second before the president would say it, a lot of times, and pictures that only the Secret Service could have, inside of and so now with True Social, they have this new account called @Q, and nobody knows who it is. And True Social doesn't allow a single number or letter. It's 3 letters or more. And so it's the only one that has that. And it was established before Devin Nunes, before Donald Trump. And so it's very interesting that it got that early. But now Devin Nunes and who else is talking about it? Kash Patel. Kash Patel's on his birthday.
I think he knows who it is since he had a beer with it.
Yeah, he said, I'm having a beer with Q, And so, all those people that thought it was a LARP in some basement, well, these are pretty high-level people. Devin Nunes, Kash Patel, and I think now Dan Scavino is starting to be in it, and a lot of people believe he was involved in that whole Q. Now, Q is not a person. He's not a savior. It could be a group. What it is it is an information campaign that bypassed the mainstream media. Yep. So we were hearing things years ago about Epstein Island, about all the sex trafficking, the child ritual abuse.
Wait, who's Epstein again? I think we forgot about him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Ukraine, and the madam didn't have any. Like, we know more about Ukraine than we know about the people that were on the list that went to the island, right?
Yeah.
Where's the list of people that went to the island?
A lot.
It just got buried.
Yeah. But we got that list. So it's interesting that that's coming out,
Well, I think there's chess moves going on, and I want to encourage people to call in. I'm just going to say this real quick. I think that we need to look at the chess moves that the good guys are doing, which you just said a couple of them. I think what's going on is that there's the exposure of what's been going on for years in Ukraine, and they're doing everything they can. They're panicking because all eyes are now on Ukraine, and they're trying to control the narrative of what's coming out of Ukraine. But what's going to backfire is all eyes are going to be on Ukraine. And then if that Ukraine is used as what you called, I think you said it was like a key to open the door for all of the flood of truth to come out.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best red pill there is that as we watch, all we have to do is watch and pray, but be discerning, and we're going to be seeing some truth come out of there as the news is released about the money laundering, the corruption, the things that have been going on with child trafficking. It is, again, I think I mentioned last week that it was the number 2 child trafficking and child porn center in the world.
Whoa.
It's also the number 1 organ harvesting, and I can guarantee that organ harvesting is often not, it's not from volunteers.
Oh, yeah, it's not from volunteers.
Right, yeah.
So there's a lot of darkness in Ukraine, and I think we're going to be seeing that. As far as the white pill the white hat strategy that I think is happening is there has got to be a critical mass that is willing to wake up and say, I'm not going to be in la la land anymore. And so I feel like it's the strategy is how high is your pain threshold. And I think Americans are the bears waking up in California.
Yes.
America is waking up.
Yep.
And I think very, very soon we're going to see that critical mass happen where we're going to be able to move into the next phase of what's coming.
Yeah, this is all part of waking people up. You got to let it get bad. People have to actually experience it. They can't just be told it. They have to experience it before they're willing to change their paradigm.
Because in America, we don't get to be the good guys unless we're acting like the good guys. And there's a whole bunch of people that are calling themselves the good guys, and they are not the good guys. Those guys need to be exposed.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
We should take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break. I got a break on Alpha, actually. So
Okay,
I'm going to play a little clip on Alpha,
Go for
and
it.
maybe you might talk about it right after. I think I got this set up right.
Of course, it's an introduction to the Christian faith. There are a number of people that I think that I want to address. Number one, if you're just checking out Christianity or you're not even sure it's relevant in this day and age, I encourage you to come to the Alpha course because it's a course that's really designed to help you get answers to some of the important questions in life. Who is God? Who is Jesus? How does God guide us? Is there a purpose for my life? How do I pray? Does God still heal? And just a whole bunch of topics like that really help lay a foundation for your spiritual life, your relationship with God. And it starts out with a meal every week. And part of the reason for that is that we just want to build friendships and get to know each other, some great worship. Then we have a teaching time. And then we get into small groups where we can discuss what we heard in a very open and safe format, where you may disagree even with what you heard. You may question what you heard. And that is okay, because Alpha is an acronym that stands for anyone is welcome. We have lots of learning and laughter. We have pasta, peanuts, pie, anything to do with food. H stands for helping each other. And the last one is any question is okay. Once a week, weekend away, I encourage everyone to consider making that kind of an investment, because I guarantee you, you will not regret it. All of you, you need to check out the Alpha course.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a great presentation. Alpha is an amazing program that was started in the UK, and it's gone over all around the world, and millions of people have gone through it. And it's basically a place for seekers to come and ask questions, to learn a little bit more about the historical Jesus. Ask questions like, why are we here? Did Jesus die? Why do you have to die? Is he real? Is he a real person? Is God real? And it's a safe place for you to have opinions that and what I find is people will sometimes say their opinion, and then after they get done sharing, they go, "Oh, I'm not sure that's even my opinion, actually. That's just what I've been told." And so it's a really great place, safe place for people to talk. We have a meal. We're doing it over at Convergence at the old Takara building, and love you guys to come out. It's on Wednesday nights. We have a meal. Please go on and register our RSVP at SantaCruzConvergence.org, SantaCruzConvergence.org. Oh, excuse me. My bad. SantaCruzGathering.org, because we meet in the Convergence building. So say it again. SantaCruzGathering.org. And if you register there, we'll have some food for you. It's free. We watch a short little video. We have a bunch of discussion. It's really great. And it's a safe place to talk about spirituality and about who God is. So
awesome.
Come join us.
So there's no arm twisting or anything like that, right? It's just a chill atmosphere.
Chill atmosphere.
What I hear.
It's really good.
Awesome. Hey, I think we got a caller, so I'm going to put this caller in. I don't know the name yet, but
who's the name?
Richard. It's Richard.
All
Richard,
right.
You're on the air.
Welcome, Richard.
Hey, Jets, thanks for taking my call. I wanted to know something. These supposedly the United Nations or NATO or somebody's going to give these guys some more jets, right? The guys from Ukraine, they're going to get some jets to fly.
Yeah, I think they come from Poland, right?
Poland.
Yeah, they're going to get... Go ahead.
I heard the airplanes went to Germany already, and they're Polish airplanes, but I'm wondering where are these airplanes going to take off from? I think the Russians took care of all the airport runways the first night.
May have.
That's what all those little bombs going off was, to put holes in all the runways.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great theory. I don't know.
I guess we'll just have to wait. I mean, something will happen. I don't know if they'll actually go through with flying over into Ukraine. But, from what we've seen, at least I've seen some videos today where a lot of Ukrainians wanted to evacuate, and the Azov, the Ukrainian nationals, the battalion, wouldn't let them leave. Said, no, you're staying here. And they're kind of using them as shields. And the bombing that I'm seeing, people are going on Google Earth and they're looking and saying that is right where there's a biolab and stuff like that. And they're triangulating and stuff. So it seems like it's getting confirmed.
Great point, Richard.
Do you think that would happen here? That if we had a war here and people started heading across the borders, would they stop these young men and not let them cross into the other countries?
I have no idea. That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't think it would happen here.
That's what happened in Ukraine. Women and children got to go to Poland, and everybody else, all the men had to stay and fight.
Yes, they had to stay and fight. Otherwise, they would be shot themselves.
I think if it happened here, our young men wouldn't flee to Poland. I hope they wouldn't. I hope our young men would.
Vietnam, they went to Canada, so.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, well, thank you.
Hey, thank you, Richard. Appreciate the call.
My dad didn't go to Canada. He got two Purple Hearts in Vietnam, so.
Wow.
Yeah, my pop was 3 years. 3 years gone. I saw him for 3 weeks in 3 years. Every year he'd come home for a week.
Oh, wow. Gosh. That's a sacrifice.
Air Force, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was
Well, phone lines are open, so if there's any other callers.
479-1080, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, today's a birthday. Did you know that? It's a 2-year anniversary. March 8th. It's the anniversary of the lockdowns and of COVID and of 2 weeks. If you do the right thing, in 2 weeks, we will stop the spread.
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
2 weeks to stop the spread.
We're at the 2-year anniversary.
2 weeks, 2 years. It's it's just one word.
They just told my daughter last week that she can take her mask off at school next week.
Yeah,
Not this week, but
March
next
11th.
week.
Yeah, because this
Because
week.
of science.
yeah.
She has to wear it this week, but next week she don't because of science.
Yes, well, that's what our website said. According to the California governor website, if you go on california.gov, it says since February 14th, the cases have declined by 66% and hospitalizations have declined by 48%. This is due in large part to the collective effort of you Californians of getting vaccinated, according to the website, of getting boosted, and of wearing masks indoors.
Poppycock. I'll say it again. Poppycock.
Yep.
That's
Lies.
That's complete BS. It's because a big group of people got in trucks and drove towards Washington. That's why.
Well, also, if you look at, some of these doctors that are truth tellers, they're saying that the majority of their patients were people that were vaccinated.
Yeah.
And then other countries with the same vaccinations are clearly showing that. So
Call me a traditionalist, but I thought vaccines stopped you from getting something.
that's the way they don't make them like they
That's
used
the
to.
old definition for vaccines.
Yeah, there was a study that came out this week from Germany. I was reading it, and it was actually from the insurance company in Germany, which they were getting a little upset for paying out monies for things that were vaccine-related injuries. And what they were concerned about was that a government-mandated experimental vaccine, they said in this study, that the health insurance companies didn't think they should have to pay for something that was required by the government. And that there was actually a mortality rate in Germany this past year of 26% higher than any other year, and the only explanation was the difference was the vaccinations.
Wow.
And they weren't COVID deaths. They said 8% accounted for COVID deaths, but there was an increase of this 26%.
Did you see that FDA forced Pfizer to put out their research, and they had to put it out, some of it last week, and it was like 20 pages of small font with hundreds of side effects.
Yeah.
Hundreds of side effects. And Pfizer wanted to wait 60 years to put that information out. And FDA wouldn't let them. They forced them. I mean, I don't trust the FDA all that much because of what they've been doing, but at least they did that. And it's crickets. People are like, wait, do you not get it? They just had to publish all the side effects that you've been watching soccer players fall down dying on the soccer field. I've probably seen 50 videos myself of high-end athletes dying or coming down with myocarditis, the attack of the heart. Myocarditis. And it's like, people, put the pieces together. The puzzle pieces all fit if you're paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people don't want to, or some people don't want to.
Yeah, there was a study published this week, too, out of Frontiers of Virology. It was a magazine, and it said there was a virus spike protein that had 100% match in its mRNA sequence as the patent of Moderna from 2016. And so it was directly related that what they were able to show on the gene sequencing of the COVID virus spike protein was 100% match. And they said that there was a 1 in 3 trillion the chances that could have been a natural evolution.
1 in what? What was the percentage?
3 trillion.
1 in 3 trillion percentage that it was a
So
natural.
there, obviously there's this patent from Moderna from 2016 that is exactly what the spike protein is now.
But Dr. Fauci said it was most likely a transmutation from bats.
From bats,
naturally occurring.
1 in 3 trillion.
1 in 3 trillion
It could
chance.
happen.
It could happen.
Or maybe it came from the Wuhan lab of virology.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Not to sound like
Yes.
Jon Stewart, but that's what he said. Maybe a penguin didn't kiss a frog and out came a new disease. Maybe.
As a result of that, I have not been open to trying bat soup.
Yeah, no way.
I'm just like,
no bat soup for
no
me.
bat soup.
I
No
don't
bat
care.
soup for you.
Did you know they put a bat on the quarter in 2020?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you're
There's like
kidding.
5 new quarters, and one of them is a bat.
Wow.
That's sick.
Man.
That's evil wink. Evil
Yeah,
wink.
That is sick.
So, hey, it's you know what? I'd like to make sure people know next week.
Next week is a
Yes.
big week.
Big week. We're going to have a guest, a special guest, Praying Medic. He is nationally known, actually known around the world now. I started following him like 7 or 8 years ago. I think you too, Chris, had a way. This was a guy who just has this incredible way of helping people learn how to get healed on their own, not going to the special guy or something like that, but going to God yourself. And so he will be on, but he also became one of the largest Q decoders in the whole entire world.
He's got millions of followers.
Yeah. Tons. And, I found a lot of comfort just listening to his stuff, but amazing things, the stories. So he's going to be on next week, and we cannot wait. It's just going to be awesome.
Really good.
So, what else?
He's got some opinions about devolution too, so it'll be fun to find out what he has to say about that.
Yeah, get your questions ready. If you know Praying Medic, go check him out.
Yeah.
Watch some of his recent stuff. Some of his recent stuff is really focusing on healing, though, right? People are calling
last 4 months, he just said, the Lord told me I should not do the politics while the news cycle's slow, and I'm just going to start posting a couple videos on healing. And literally 10 to 12 testimonies every day come into his Telegram.
Yeah, check out Telegram.
I never did this before, and I'm praying, and all of a sudden this miraculous thing, I got healed, and testimony after testimony. Talk about encouragement, though. And these are just normal people. They're not like, hey, I went to seminary, or, just normal people. And they're like, I just did what you said in the book, and oh my gosh, it worked. Some crazy stuff. So we're going to talk about that. Also, I wanted to make sure, we get a lot of our news from online. And I just wanted to pass that on. Do yourselves a favor. If you're looking for news, we were listening to andweknow.com. That's a great one.
Yeah,
It's every couple of days, a great video of
And
what's
We Know.
happening. Red Pill 78 News or Red Pill News. That's another great one. And then X22 is always good.
There's a lot of good news out there. If you know how to search it out, some of the answers to the questions you have are inconvenient truths.
Yep.
And they might bring a little bit of pain, but you need to go do it. Before we go, what's the good news, Ron?
Good news is God wins and God's in control, and there are good things happening. I believe that what's happening in Ukraine is that the deep state and dark corruption is being exposed and is being taken down, and God will use whoever he uses. Just like Pastor Lance Wallmow said, he was working with the churches in Russia, and they're saying, Putin is good with the church. He respects the church. He defends the Marriage Act and things like that. He shut down the liberal things that are deep staters were trying to put in to overthrow their government. He shut that down. So I believe that there is some stability and that God will do, and he'll use who he uses.
Yeah, and that is, the good news is we win. The good news is God's in control.
Amen.
Nothing gets past him.
Yeah.
And there are some good things happening that we need to stay positive. We need to act and work. The other good news is this. God sent forth Jesus as his only begotten son, that anyone who would believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Jesus is the answer to all the problems we're facing in the world right now. All of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guarantee if you ask him, if you just pray, Lord, would you reveal yourself to me? He will. He is so good at showing up and letting you know he is there. So we want to give a good message of hope. We have a God that's on the throne,
That's
and
right.
he is not wringing his hands,
No,
and
that's
he is
right.
not worried.
Jesus is coming soon. You better be ready.
That's
Time
right.
to get ready.
Amen.
Amen. We'll see you next week on Wake the Bear, because the bear has awoken.
This